I couldn't believe it.
Why did she say that?
I don't know, because I have photos of her holding my newborn babies. I knew her for 30 years. Like, I don't know, Rosie, we're not friends. It was so upsetting to me that I had T-shirts made. I don't know.
Whose name?
So maybe she's hightailing out of there before all that is thrown at her as well. But what a bunch of hypocrites.
Ellen DeGeneres and her wife, Portia de Rossi, have reportedly fled the US, bound for the UK, after Donald Trump's...
Rosie O'Donnell knew Ellen DeGeneres for 30 years, held her hand through the hardest moments of her career. And when Ellen got famous, Ellen pretended she didn't exist. Now, Rosie is one of the few people in Hollywood willing to say out loud what everyone else is only whispering. Ellen didn't leave the United States because of politics. She left because the walls were closing in, the Diddy connection, Twitch, and Heche, the workplace nightmare. It all started unraveling at once, and Rosie was watching the whole time.
Yeah, I'm with you. I thought of you when Ellen DeGeneres went through her thing, and she goes, my advice to everybody is, if you're going to be known as something, being known as the be kind lady is probably going to bite you in the ass. And I wondered what that whole queen of nice.
Yeah,
I remember thinking,
yeah.
Did you think it bit you in the ass? I wasn't aware of that. But
not in the way that Ellen's talking about, I think. But, I said the day it came out, look at this, the queen of nice. In a couple of years, it's going to be the queen of lice, the queen of fried rice, the queen of we don't like her anymore.
Ellen isn't the only one in Hollywood. That clip right there is Rosie drawing a direct line between herself and Ellen. Both of them got handed the nicest person on TV label. Both of them wore it like a target. But Rosie's point is sharp. Ellen didn't just fail to live up to the image. She actively built a machine behind the scenes that ran on fear. That's not a small gap between public image and private behavior. That's a wall, and that's where this ties back to what eventually brought everything down. Because when BuzzFeed published testimonies from over a dozen former employees describing the Ellen Show as a place built on intimidation, racism, and silence, it wasn't a surprise to the people who actually knew her.
I couldn't believe it.
Why did she say that?
I don't know, because I have photos of her holding my newborn babies. I knew her for 30 years. Like, I don't know, Rosie, we're not friends. It was so upsetting to me that I had T-shirts made. I don't know, Rosie, we're not friends. And I gave them out to my staff because it was very painful. And, we've never sort of gotten over it.
Did she ever reach out to you to explain it or what her thinking was, or?
No.
I mean, I'm not the first person to say this, but she's a strange creature.
Well, we're not similar. I can say that for sure. We're not emotionally similar.
No.
And I was never asked to go on her show. When I was, it was long after they had been on for many years, and she had the same staff as my show, the same producers, the same everything. And now I don't blame her for doing that. I didn't create the genre of a Merv Griffin, Mike Douglas talk show. This was what I grew up watching. But I did think that she was all of a sudden in the position I was in, where she was starting a show and wanted it to be successful and get the money and the accolades that came with it. And instead of deciding to stand next to me and hold my hand, which is what I did to her, she did the opposite. And I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
30 years, newborn babies in her arms. And then one day, nothing. I don't know, Rosie, we're not friends. Rosie had T-shirts made because she needed somewhere to put the pain. But listen to what she's actually describing. It's not just a friendship falling apart. It's a pattern. Ellen found someone useful, got what she needed, and moved on. The moment Rosie stopped being a stepping stone, she became invisible. That's what the producers who worked for Ellen described too. The moment you stopped being useful to the machine, you were disposable. One former employee said they were let go after taking bereavement leave. Another said they were told never to speak to Ellen directly. What makes this theory interesting is that Rosie wasn't the exception. She was just the one with a platform to talk about.
It's so weird when you see, like, a lot of people saying that someone who seems so nice is not nice at all.
She doesn't seem nice, but that people have a very poor judge of character. She doesn't seem nice. It seems forced. People that are like that all the time, she doesn't seem nice. It's very forced. And whatever, you're allowed to be a bitch, right? You're allowed to be a bitch. You're allowed to be nasty to people. You're accomplished. You're a comedian. You did the whole thing. What you're not allowed to do is have a Guantanamo Bay situation in the backstage. of your show where everybody's walking around afraid for their life, and it's like Abu Ghraib where they're hooked up to wires and they
Dogs
have like
around them.
Yeah, she's got dogs and hoods. If an intern's late, they have a hood on. I don't support that. That's just me.
Yeah.
Guantanamo Bay's situation backstage. He said it as a joke. The audience laughed. But the people who worked there weren't laughing. Because what Rogan was describing, the hoods, the fear, the walking on eggshells, matched almost word for word what former employees told BuzzFeed in 2020. The narrative was always that this was a management problem. A few bad producers, miscommunication, growing pains. Ellen released a letter. Warner Bros. Launched an investigation. They said the right things, but nobody who actually worked there thought it was just growing pains. And that's where things start to connect, because this wasn't just a toxic workplace. This was a woman who had spent 2 decades carefully building an image and quietly making sure nobody with real information could ever threaten it.
Ellen DeGeneres is speaking out about reports of workplace mistreatment in a letter to her staff. The talk show host shared her initial reaction to the allegations from current and former employees and revealed what actions are being taken to improve company culture. Ellen said she was disappointed to learn about the claims in a recent BuzzFeed article, citing the show's enormous growth over the years and her increased reliance on people to do their jobs as they knew I'd want them done. She went on to acknowledge that clearly some didn't.
I don't think you achieve anything by bullying people.
In a statement to ET, Warner Brothers, the studio behind Ellen's show, claims they have interviewed dozens of current and former employees in the wake of these allegations. They say that during their investigation, it was revealed that there were some deficiencies related to the show's day-to-day management. And that moving forward, the studio and Ellen are committed to creating a workplace based on respect and inclusion.
Notice what just happened there? Ellen's team moved fast. The letter to staff, the Warner Brothers statement, the language about respect and inclusion, every single word was calculated. Not to help the employees, but to control the story before it spread further. And it almost worked. Ratings had already been slipping. The brand was already cracking. But the real blow wasn't the BuzzFeed article. It was what happened next. 2 months after the Ellen show ended, Heche, Ellen's ex-girlfriend, was gone. And 2 months after that, Twitch, the executive producer who knew everything that went on behind those cameras. The 2 people closest to the truth about what the Ellen show actually was, both gone within months of the final episode. That timing is hard to explain away.
Heche gets in this accident, and I'm bereft. Now, how did I know her? She did my show twice, and she and Ellen came to my home in Miami and swam in my pool, and we had lunch once. So
Right.
I knew her, not really well, but in the celebrity vernacular, and that she was with Ellen for a while, and then how her career suffered, and her book, Call Me Crazy. There was a horribly, horribly tragic child abuse in that family, and I've always sort of felt sorry for her. So when she's dying and when that all happens, I'm legitimately bereft in a way that maybe surprised me. I'd wake up in the morning and think, oh my God, something's wrong. Oh, Heche is in a coma. Like, it was obsessive to me. So she died, tragic.
Rosie woke up thinking about Anne every morning. That's not a celebrity being performatively sad. That's someone who genuinely felt the weight of what happened, and the details she slips in almost quietly. Anne and Ellen came to her home, swam in her pool, had lunch. These were real people in each other's lives for years. Now here's what the public record shows. Anne's car crash happened 2 months after the Ellen show was canceled. The coroner's report said she was unconscious from the moment of impact, but the aerial footage told a different story. She sat straight up at one point, consciously, and no one in the mainstream press seemed particularly interested in asking why the 2 accounts didn't.
In May 2002, the Ellen DeGeneres Show was canceled, and then 2 months later, Heche, Ellen's ex-girlfriend, was in a really bad car accident where she flew her Mini Cooper into someone's house and it caught fire. And what has never sat right with me is the cross comparison between the coroner's report and the actual aerial footage. The coroner's report says that she was unconscious until her death, after just from smoke inhalation and from being brain dead from the fumes in her brain. But if you look at the footage, she sits straight up, and that takes a conscious effort, I feel, but I'm not a scientist. I mean, I'm not a doctor. But the other thing is her other host, her co-host Twitch, died 4 months after that. And I just think that that's a suspicious amount of like close people around you dying in weird ways.
Match, show ends, ex-girlfriend gone 2 months later. Executive producer gone 2 months after that. Both of them, by all accounts, were people who knew things and had reportedly been working on a project that would expose what she knew. Twitch, according to people close to him, was being pressured to publicly defend Ellen and deny the workplace allegations. He refused, and then both of them were gone inside a 4-month window. Now, none of this is proven. No charges were ever filed. No investigation was opened. But that's almost the most disturbing part. Because in Hollywood, the absence of accountability isn't unusual. It's the system working exactly as designed. Joe Rogan explained that system better than almost anyone. Subhuman.
There is an arrogance that some stars had, like particularly in the 90s. When I first came to Hollywood, and this was like really evident for me because I was not a star, but I was on a television show. So I got to be around a lot of stars. And there was a way that some of them would treat you. They would let you know that you are subhuman. You are below them. They would communicate with you in the most disrespectful and dismissive ways. Like weird. Like mousy guys that I could kill.
Right.
Like instantly. And they would just be rude to you in a really weird way because they had power. They had power, and then when an executive would come over, they would turn on the charm. They'd be smiling and laughing, and then you would talk to them at the craft service, and they would dismiss you in the shittiest ways. I encountered a bunch of that.
Yeah.
That was the word he used. These weren't bad people in isolation. They were products of an industry that rewards that behavior. The more powerful you became, the more you could get away with. And the people around you, assistants, producers, junior staff, they learned fast that speaking up meant disappearing. Ellen didn't invent that culture. She just became one of its most visible graduates, and that's where this ties back to the departure. Because when the Diddy situation started unraveling in 2024, FBI raids, federal charges, names starting to surface, Ellen announced she was leaving the United States. Permanently, not a vacation, not a sabbatical. Gone? And the timing, almost to the month, lined up with the raid on Diddy's Miami.
Is that going to be a new thing? Are you going to try to be early?
Yes, I'm trying to be early.
Are you going to be early for my party?
Yes, I am. No.
No.
You know I have to arrive fashionably late.
All right. Not too late, though.
Not too late?
Not too late, please.
What time would you like me there?
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But not too late. Because, you know, once you get there, the party really starts.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I got you. I promise you I'm not going to let you down on this big one.
All right,
For
good.
real.
Good.
Your shoes, your feet are going to have blisters. You're going to be dancing so hard.
Home. That's not two people who've met a handful of times at industry events. That's familiarity, real comfort. And Ellen, in her own words in a separate clip from the same era, described knowing exactly what went on at Diddy's after parties. She said it casually, like it was common knowledge, like it was just the way things were. Then the FBI raided his home. Then the charges came. Then the list of associates started to grow. And 1 month later, Ellen was on a plane to England, put the Montecito estate on the market, told friends she was never coming back. The reason she gave publicly was the election, but the people paying attention noticed the actual timeline.
She sounded so sincere, didn't she?
Very sincere.
Virtually choke on her words. But the best one for me is Ellen DeGeneres, who is, by the way, a very nasty person. I've had dealings with her in Australia. Could I tell you some stories about that cow? But anyway, good riddance to her. But you know, she was quite friendly with that P. Diddy bloke, wasn't she?
Well, this is why I say release the Diddy files.
Yeah,
release
so,
the Diddy
you know.
files. Come on, Donald Trump, we want to know.
Release the Diddy files. That's the thread people kept pulling. Because if those files ever become fully public, names are going to appear that nobody in Hollywood is prepared for. Ellen's sudden change in appearance after leaving. The stepped-back profile, the complete withdrawal from the public spotlight she spent 2 decades building. These aren't the actions of someone who just wanted a quieter life after a hard few years. These are the actions of someone managing exposure. And Rosie O'Donnell, who watched all of this from the inside for 30 years, didn't exactly rush to defend her. That silence says something too. That conversation
about Hollywood managers who manage kids. It's a racket, man.
Did you hear that kid from
They're
Strange?
just grooming these kids, dude.
That
These
kid
grooming
from
them
Strange Things?
to suck dick.
Stranger
Things.
He just left his manager, and they're alleging sex abuse. news. They just left their agent. See if you can find that. Owen Benjamin.
The curly hair kid. Oh,
yeah.
And he's
Owen
in it
Benjamin just put it on his Instagram today because Owen has been taking a lot of heat online because he said that a 3-year-old kid shouldn't be fucking transgender, and people giving him a hard time saying he's a bigot. Like, are you out of your fucking mind? When
What's
you're
up with this
look at
transgender?
Stranger Things actor dropped agent because of accused of assault. Disney star follows suit. Jesus Christ. This is nuts,
Watch
man.
an Open Secret, and they go through it. Dude, they pick. They're
What's
accusing
it on?
people. It's for free. I think on Vimeo.
Yeah, you
can watch it for free. An Open Secret.
Just on YouTube or something?
On Vimeo.
You know what Sturgill Simpson told me? He said the same thing exists in music.
What?
He said in music there's a bunch of pedos and pederasts
For sure.
in music as well.
The entertainment.
Something too? That conversation happened years before the Weinstein verdicts, years before the Diddy charges. And every single thing Rogan and his guests described turned out to be provably true. The managers, the agents, the auditions that turned into something else entirely. The kids who went in wanting a career and came out with something they could never fully explain. Ellen's name appears in this world not because of one isolated incident, but because of proximity. Proximity to the parties, proximity to the people, proximity to the system. And when that system started to fall apart publicly, the people closest to its center didn't stick around to answer questions. They got out quietly, quickly, with their houses on the market and their phones on airplane mode. Rosie O'Donnell held her tongue for years. She watched Ellen build an empire on the backs of people she discarded. She watched the Be Kind brand get plastered across merchandise while the staff behind the cameras lived in fear. And when it all fell apart, when Twitch was gone, when Anne was gone, when the FBI started making moves, Rosie didn't perform grief. She just told the truth, quietly, without drama. The way you do when you've known someone for 30 years and you're no longer surprised by anything they're capable of. The question that nobody has answered yet is simple. If Ellen is really just living a peaceful new life in rural England, why does she keep watching the news so closely? And why, the moment Diddy's legal team started talking about early release, did she suddenly announce she might come back? Think about that. And if this story made you look twice at names you thought you knew, hit subscribe because the next one goes even deeper.